Now, Mike, this is a great question because people get themselves deep into trouble with perpetual calendars. Myth, perpetual calendars, if you set them too far forward, they have to go back to the factory.
Depends. Tim?
We're going to rate this one sorta, because it's definitely the case if you have the so-called Klaus perpetual calendar system and it's used by JLC and IWC, it's completely coordinated, which means everything moves in sync: day, date, moon phase, month, and year. The problem, though, is that year indicator. Now, on this watch, you can see it down in the corner. You could see it right up around 1 o'clock and 12 o'clock.
Right between March and May.
The fact that it has a year means it only moves in one direction. There are not individual pusher adjusters to fix all the registers. If I accidentally advance this thing into 2018 or even a few months ahead, it's either going to have to sit until I reach that date in reality, or a watchmaker is going to have to manually correct it, and that's going to require going back to the factory.
The way we actually do some of those here.
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah, we do them here. We have, especially on the IWC, because IWC put the quick set is actually on the crown, and a normal quick set like your calendar would be. And we do have, we'll sell the watch, and somebody will be overzealous, and they'll think they're winding the watch, and they're in quick set, and all of a sudden before they realize that they're advanced 6 months, and there's nothing they can do. I actually did one about a month ago, where it was actually 2018, 2019. He zipped it ahead a couple of years thinking it was going to come around and catch back up again, and he got into a lot of trouble. That can be reset. Basically, it's pulling the hands, it's resetting that calendar, and it's not a bad calendar to reset. This is a little more involved because of the alarm and everything else. So this is definitely a factory service. There's different annual calendars that, because of my experience with them, I know are factory service. But there's also perpetuals that I don't mind doing. So it varies. It varies on the construction. Some perpetuals are easier to fix than annual calendars.
So perhaps we should qualify this one as a perpetual calendar needs to go to a watchmaker if it's set too far ahead. That's definitely true. I will say with the Klaus systems, they've been around since 1985. Sometimes you run into the opposite problem, which is one that's 15, 20 years behind. The watch hasn't run in a decade or two. Now you're talking about indexing this thing thousands and thousands of times. It might not make it through the equivalent of decades of use all in a day.
Watch, if that thing's been sitting that long, that's something we do full service on.
Yeah, especially with the JLC, because the JLC, I just mean to interject real quick. The JLC, unlike the IWC, uses a case side pusher, so it's not even like you can just start turning the crown in the adjustment position as you can on an IWC. If that JLC is 10 years behind, you're looking at between 3,600 and 4,000 pokes with a toothpick.
Yeah, it's not good for the watch either to do that. Some of the watches we talk about that, we have the annual calendars here, and they all have independent settings.
Yeah.
So they have independent correctors. So and even in the perpetuals and the Patek perpetuals, they have independent correctors. Where even if you're off with the leap year indicator, you can bring it around 4 years relatively short time.
Yeah. And I will say this: there are two systems out there. One is used by H, Moser Cie, and that's the Endeavor Perpetual. And then there is Ulysse Nardin with all variants of the Perpetual Ludwig system that debuted in 1996. Both of those systems are perpetual calendars that can be set backward and forward with no hazard to the movement. So neither one of those needs to go back in the year 2100. And that is the year that every perpetual calendar not made by them has to be corrected.
One of the funny things too, you talk about IWC and how they sell the little capsule.
Century slide.
The century slides. So it's kind of funny about that is because it's not like this watch is going to run until you have to install that. It's not going to last that long between services.
Exactly.
You're not going 100 years between service.
That's almost like the century egg. Will you still be able to eat it in 100 years? No, you'll be dead.